From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Who run it? Who run it? These boys ain't running. Run it, but y'all now.
Wake up! What is up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, Victory Monday, celebrating a 9-win season with 10 perhaps on the horizon after a huge 45-38 win over the Gators, and going through winners from this past week. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Check them on out, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., daily lunch specials. It's Monday, Victory Burger time. Build your own burger. Half-pound Black Angus burger, cooked to your delight, and serve with a choice of straight fries, curly fries, onion rings, potato salad, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. It's all over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Check them on out. CP Tally Bar is the website.com, of course. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. It's only $10 American to join for an entire year. Join now, so you can be ready for Florida State's run for a college football playoff next year. It's only $10. Get on it now. Thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're listening to us on YouTube. And maybe give us a 5-star rating and subsequent review. Corner Pocket also home to some shenanigans on Saturday. How'd you fare there, Corey, amongst the spectacular celebrations?
I was nice, man. I bought champagne for everyone. So that's what I did. I felt it was. We had a lot of people show up for that. A lot more than I thought. I just thought it was a goofy thing that we'd put on the channel. I didn't know people would actually show up for it. But yeah, I don't know, 50 or 60 people did. I think anyway, or maybe they were just there at 11:30 at CP because it's a fun place to be. That could be it too.
That's right.
But either way, yeah, man, that was awesome. It was, and so Jeff had the best keg stand. And Gene had the best beer funnel. He dominated Ira.
He vacuumed it, man. It was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the YouTube channel, everyone. Yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, just scroll back go to the live video section, and it's right there. A lot of people have already seen it, which is crazy. You guys are the best. You guys are nuts. But they made a promise.
Promises made, promises kept.
Yep, that's what we do at Warchant. That's what we do at Warchant. Eric Angel did a keg stand because he's the one that originated the idea that if they win their last 5 games that Tom and Jeff should do a keg stand, and they obliged. So, yeah, it was a good time had by all, man. It's a good time had by all. And I thought it was a nice touch, Aslan, if everybody remembers the hijinks from last year, me dumping champagne on myself in mock celebration because the team wasn't going to go winless. That's where we were late September.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately, oh my gosh, they won a game. Let's go celebrate like idiots. They're not going to go winless this year. They beat Syracuse. They're now 1-4. And then to fast forward 14 months, and they just beat their rival to finish 9-3. So I was like, you know what? Instead of dumping champagne on myself, I'm going to pass it out, and we're all going to toast the 2022 Florida State football team. And that's what we did.
Who says a rebuild needs to be slow from 5 wins and 9 wins, possibly doubling it if you win your bowl game, which we won't know officially until Sunday. Throughout the week, I'm sure we'll see some more projections on the bowls. But let's get to the game from Friday night. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Black Friday was splendid for the Noles. 45-38 win over the Gators. I don't know, Corey, best game, period, since 2003 in this rivalry, the most competitive game since 2006. I'm sure people were obviously, judging by the Tribal Council, were very nervous throughout the game. I think a lot of us had projected a Florida State blowout. I know you did not. But the fact of the matter that it was so nip and tuck, ultimately you win the game so you can enjoy it. But so much to kind of unpack. But just ultimately the fact that they scored 45 on that surprised any of us. Maybe the fact that Florida scored 38 was. But there's no beauty contest in this game, man. Get the dub. They did. What an incredible night. I know Jordan Travis just doing Jordan Travis things. And just, the defense made a stop when they had to. I don't know. Everything else in between, where you want to start, friend?
Yeah, let's start with Travis. Again, I think when you look back at this season, that is going to be the lead paragraph that's written about the 2022 Florida State football team as the quarterback. He took a leap that I don't think any of us thought was possible. My man Dilly did. By the way, congrats to him. He's now the head coach at Arizona State. That's nuts. Not nuts that he's the head coach. He's just so young. And 2 years ago, he was coaching a team that went 3-6 and couldn't score on many people. And now he's the head coach at Arizona State. Did a great job at Oregon. Good luck to him. But he's like the only coach that really talked with a ton of confidence about Jordan Travis's potential that we talked to early on in Jordan's career. Right. From, Willie to Kendall, and then to Kenny. Kenny was the one that was effusive in his praise for him. But even then, I don't even know if Dilly could have seen this coming. I don't know that anybody knew this leap was coming. And he became one of the, I don't know, again, who's better? Caleb Williams at USC, got it. Bryce Young at Alabama. Hendon Hooker probably at Tennessee. Anyone else? I don't know. Nobody jumps to mind.
I mean, C.J. Stroud is...
C.J. Stroud, yeah. So they're the four. Hooker probably. Those three definitely. Now, you could also argue, C.J. Stroud gets to throw to top 5 picks. That's fun. And that's pretty cool. And behind a great offensive line with like NFL offensive linemen. But either way, Jordan Travis is not – it's not absurd to say he's in that grouping. He's not as good as those guys, but he's right there, man. And I didn't even think that was possible. And I think when you look at this season, in that game in particular, man, that to me was a guy that's like, I'm not letting my team lose. I mean, those plays were nuts. He had guys bouncing off him. Like he's like Bo Jackson. Like one of the one scramble he had, the one that'll be run forever in Florida State lore when he avoided the 3 sacks. When he's running, he doesn't even try to he's running so hard, I guess, or has so much confidence in himself, he doesn't even try to shake one of the tacklers. He just runs knowing he's going to bounce off him. Like he's Bo Jackson, like he's our Dalvin Cook. Like, I'm not worried about him. He's about to bounce off me. He can't tackle me. And then, just some unbelievable highlight plays from a kid that had a great season. And I thought that was really cool for him to finish his season like that. Hopefully not his career like that, but his season like that, beating the Gators and having just a remarkable game.
Yeah, I wonder when he'll get the national recognition, because watching the Southern Cal Notre Dame game on Saturday night, that dude's wearing 13, and he is just winning all over Twitter, just nationally, everybody gushing over him. And I'm like, if you guys were watching football the night previously, the kid in Tallahassee was doing the same stuff pretty much.
Yeah.
But he doesn't kind of get that sort of the same recognition. Obviously, the team's a little bit different parts of the journey, or at least where they're at in the polls. But what an all-time game, and maybe again one of the all-time performance one of the all-time games in this rivalry with the way Jordan played. 13 for 30, whatever, 270 yards through the air and a touchdown, and then he ran for 83 yards and 2 scores. Trey Benson continues to run pretty well. I know he had that 45-yard run, which kind of maybe inflates the stats. He maybe didn't look as good as we anticipated, but, again, they run for over 200 yards again. So that's, 7 straight times, Corey? When was the last time that happened?
1987. The start of the dynasty.
All right. Feels pretty good. Good.
Just normal stuff happening here in Tallahassee, man. Just normal everyday stuff going on here.
And for me, Corey, I'm sure a lot of people might disagree with this. They would have rather seen Florida State win 45-0, 45-10. For me, I talked about wanting to kind of see like a real true test again for this team. I wanted to see them kind of have to face adversity. I know it sounds weird, everybody, but listen, like the last 4 weeks was like being on your honeymoon. Like of course it's going to be great. You're on your honeymoon. Everything's peaches and cream. Everything's great. You're away from home. You're doing whatever you want to do. You're doing whatever you want to do to the opponent. You're running whatever plays you want. You're running Philly special against Syracuse because their defensive tackle ran his mouth, and you're like, no, we're not going to let that abide. We're not going to let that happen on our watch. So I needed to really see them kind of go, not be able to bully somebody for once. And Florida responded. It was a little bit nervous, maybe a little too close, more so than I wanted. But I think, I'd said to myself, win or lose, the way they played against Florida, man, I'm like, man, if they're going to give them the extension. I know it's going to happen. Give him the extension. Pay when he wants. Even if they were to lose that game, I assure you I was saying the same tune, because just the way they played. I know defensively it wasn't great at times, but, man, they made stops when they had to, and this offense just continues to look quite remarkable. I mean, what did you think about the overall nature of the game, it being so back and forth? Did that show or prove anything, or is there anything to take away from a game of that nature when it's a rivalry, when it's close fought?
I think so. I think, again, the biggest issue I had with this team this year is the runs they would allow. And I've talked about it a lot, but the 28-0 run Wake went on, the 27-0 run that Clemson went on in like the span of 6 minutes, where there were no plays that answered it. You got punched and got knocked down, and it took you a long time to get back up. Well, this one you got punched a couple of times, and you hopped back up. I loved the way they came out in the third quarter. And just kind of, it was weird that Florida stopped running the ball, but you took advantage of that. The kid started like whatever he started, 5 of 10 for 150 yards. Hey, cover the white kid, everyone. He's the only guy he's the only good wide receiver, and I can't remember his name. That's why I identified him as that.
Ricky Pearsall. I only know that because it's right in front of my face.
Okay, there you go. So Pearsall, you knew he was the second leading receiver on the team. You knew he was the only guy that he trusted. You can't get beat for 2 long touchdowns by that. I guess you can because you did. But so that happens. That's very, very disappointing, and it was the kind of stuff I was worried about. But then you answered, and you didn't let Florida ever get control of the game. They were in a spot where they could have gotten control of the game coming out of halftime, and then you got a 3-and-out, your first one of the day, and then you got another one, and then you got another one. That was really good to see as you dominated the third quarter. But then you give up 14 straight points, right, Aslan? That's not great. They score to make it 38-31. You have your only 3-and-out of the day because, of course, why wouldn't you? Gets a little tight. Things get a little tight. Then the next drive, they go down and score again, hit a 50-yard run. Now, all of a sudden, it's tied. And what does Florida State do? They march right down the field again and take the lead. That's the thing I hadn't seen from this team in games like this. That was what I wanted to see. It's what I wanted to see from the defense in the third quarter. Obviously, the defense was not great there at the end. But, hey, they got a stop, didn't they? In the final minute, they got that stop. And they got it twice, I thought. They got it twice. That was a really ticky-tack pass interference. And then they come back and get a stop a few moments later. But that drive, 38-38, the catch by Johnny Wilson on third down, probably maybe I guess you'd say the Louisville ones are a little bit bigger. That's about as big a catch as he's ever made in his life, especially after having a not a good game at all, actually. He dropped a touchdown pass. He dropped another first down throw. He was not good. And he's banged up, as Norvell talked about afterwards. But he dropped a couple of very catchable passes. And then for him in that moment to make that play, to get that drive going again, and then you score 2 or 3, 4 plays later, whatever it is, to go take the lead, that's great for that kid. It's also just a great response for a football team that, like you said, had proven so much this year, but had not proven it could counter when it got punched. And they did. And that was really cool to see. That I think you're right. Part of me was like, yeah, you would have liked 60-6 better, just completely humiliate and annihilate them. But I think maybe we learn more about the nature of this team and maybe what it has coming back by answering the call in an environment like that, in a pressure-packed situation like that, right?
Mm-hmm. And, so let's maybe pivot to defense then, I guess, because that was – maybe it's the way you allowed those 38 points. I don't know if anyone's ever going to be happy with a 38-point effort from their defense, but it was some of those long runs they popped off, some of those long pass plays they popped off, which we had not seen Florida State do here recently, and was something that kind of had reared their head earlier, not even really this season, but in previous seasons under Adam Fuller. How do you assess the play of the defense? I mean, ultimately, you made the stops when you had to, but there were some big-time busts. But, I mean, I just think on the whole, man, it's a rivalry game, and I know people don't want to hear it. And, again, I said I thought Florida State was going to win something like 41-17, so I did not foresee Florida going for 460 yards and all these big, huge chunk plays they ripped off. But I watched a lot of football on Saturday, man. I saw Michigan totally snatch Ohio State's soul at home. So
how about that?
I'm not going to be all that critical, although I'm sure people want us to be quite critical of the defense. I don't know how to diplomatically talk about it, because I understand the frustration, but when you have a really good offense, not that you're allowing them to score, but man, they were built to win a game like this and they won it.
Yeah, and it kind of, so say Jordan comes back next year and all the other offensive guys come back, you get either however you want to look at it. I know 3 of the guys that started on the offensive line were seniors because Turnentine started, but you get Darius back, you get Robert Scott back, you get Maurice Smith back, and you get some other guys back, I'm sure. That so you're going to have a good offensive line next year, we think, because you're going to have Alex Atkins as your coach, we think. And the offense as a whole should, again, be, if that quarterback's calling the shots, should be one of the best in the United States. If you just have a good defense, a solid defense, with the way this offense played in the last 5 games, you should be a top 10, top 12 team. That's how good I think the offense can be next year if the pieces that need to come back come back.
Preseason. You're talking like
preseason.
Right?
That's what. But I also think regular season. I just think
you'll start there. I think you'll start there, and then you can climb, if you will.
Oh yeah, sure. That's what I'm saying. But I think that I would be not surprised at all if they become a top 10. That offense is going to be elite. It already is elite, and if they come back for another year, better, bigger, more confident, all that stuff. So I loved what the offense did clearly in that game. The defense, and again, I don't want to concentrate too much on it because, again, we can't be picking nits and hand-wringing after you just beat your rival 45-38. It was an awesome game. Let the Florida fans worry about their defense and talk smack about their defense all offseason. That was a bad performance at a bad time, but a couple of things. Number one, the touchdown run at the end when it's 38-31. You're on your third or fourth string safety who completely chooses the wrong gap because he hasn't played a real live rep in, I don't know, a year and a half. Like, Sidney Williams is not supposed to be in the game in that moment. But Shaheem Brown got hurt. Akeem Dent was clearly something was up with him because he didn't play. He played like one kickoff return, and that was a wrap. So I don't know if he got hurt on the kickoff return or what happened there, but he didn't play at all. He was not available. And then, so Sidney Williams in the game. Kevin Noles even played some safety. Like, they were really struggling at safety. So I give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that they were having communication issues before that run. As you can see them, they're all kind of confused. Well, that might have to do with, having a guy that hasn't played in a year on the field, and then he takes the wrong angle and bad things happen. And the second Pearsall touchdown, I'm not going to call you White Kid anymore. I know your name now, Pearsall. I should know your name. You had a great game. That's just a great throw. Yeah. Kevin Noles, it's not like he just let him run by him. Kevin Noles was really right there and dove and just missed the ball.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was an incredible effort.
And it's a great throw. It's a really nice catch. It's pretty darn good coverage. Just, that's the guy made a great throw. He's got an arm. And if he throws it where he's supposed to, it's hard to defend. The first touchdown really bothers me. Why did that happen? That's the stuff I was talking about against Clemson. It's like, how does that happen? You just can't give them busted coverages. You just can't give them wide open plays. That Florida State had been so good about that in the last month, really all year. But again, as I pointed out before the game, what gave me pause is anytime they played an offense with a pulse, it kind of looked a little bit like that, didn't it?
Yeah.
When it had a decent quarterback, and it had an offense that could move the ball and had some confidence, they were going to give up in the neighborhood of 30 points.
Yeah.
And that's
People
exactly
got upset about that. People got really upset at that. Well, they got upset. It's crazy because you talked about it. They got upset at me about it. But I thought it was a fair point you made. It took wind out of my sails. But again, you scored 45 points, so it didn't matter as much.
Yeah, and so, but overall, man, yeah, the defense, I love the fact that, again, we can hand wring about it. The biggest problem, honestly, was you just got dominated at the line of scrimmage. And that's not really, what can Fuller do about that? You just got pushed out of the way, man. That's a good offensive line. It's probably the best one you faced.
Some freaking running backs. Low mercy.
The running backs are good. Yeah. Those linemen are mean, and they're nasty, and they're big, and they block to the echo of the whistle, and you just kind of got dominated up front. But at the end of the game, let's not lose sight of which defense got the stand and which defense didn't. And even on their, they had, I think Malcolm Ray was on the field the majority of that
19 snaps he had. Yeah, 19
But
snaps.
I think he was on the field a lot there at the end.
Yes.
Verse wasn't on the field much. Peyton was. Leonard Warner was. McClellan, who I don't know if he had played a meaningful rep all season, Aslan.
Which, by the way, I don't know, retroactively, can we mention, Leonard wasn't practicing this week, and then he was kind of thrust into duty. So, Jarquez, he played 30 against Louisiana, played 25 against, he did not play. He played 2 reps against LSU, 2 against Miami. and then every other game, that was a blowout too, though. But, I mean, he was
Right.
the only close sort of game he played in was LSU, 2 snaps. Everything else, Boston College, he played 22 snaps. That was a blowout. 25 against Tech, blowout. 2 against Miami, blowout. 13 against Cuse, blowout. 30 against Louisiana, blowout.
Right.
And then he has to, hey, man, this is do or die right here.
So he's in the game in that moment. And Norvell said afterwards he didn't practice all week either. He had something. He had an injury too, so he hadn't practiced really all week. And I'm sure they didn't think that would be a big deal. It's like, oh, Pac-Man, that's his nickname, can't practice. Well, when is he going to play anyway, unless we're up by 30? But in that moment, number one, I just thought it was, I mean, he might have tugged him a little bit with his right arm, but he was right where he was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, I think I said it in the press box. Like, because they showed the end zone view of the play. And he saw what receiver he was supposed to have. I think it was the tight end, actually. And he makes a beeline to him from his spot, which is about 20 yards away. He makes a beeline to exactly where he's supposed to go. And I was saying to myself, man, that's a pretty well-coached defense with the kid that probably doesn't expect to ever play in that moment. Knows to match up right then with the right person, and he's right there. And I think he just probably panicked a little bit to make it look like interference. But let's go, gang. That was not that should not have been called. I think if it was near the Florida State sideline, it would not have been called. But it was. But then my man goes and has the biggest pass breakup of his career 5 plays later on a pass down to like the 5-yard line. He's right there helping sandwich the receiver and knock the ball out of his hands. Like, that's cool that he had a moment. He almost intercepted it. That he had a moment like that too. Because, yeah, this program is not where we hope it's going to be in terms of talent and depth and everything else. But it's cool for a kid like that to have a moment in a game like that. And the defense did come up with the stop when it absolutely had to, and that was cool to see.
Sports betting is intense enough. You shouldn't need to sweat your payouts. MyBookie's got a no-strings bonus that lets you cash in and cash out quick when you use the promo code WARCHANT. On your deposit of $50 or more, you can receive up to a $200 in-cash match instantly to your MyBookie account. Using the bonus is simple. Bet the deposit amount once, and then you're ready to cash out. It's no strings attached with MyBookie. And it is intense betting. You shouldn't have to sweat payouts. You also shouldn't have to sweat out, actual picks. Shout out to Aslan this week. 2 for 1. I gave you 2 dogs. They won straight up, America. Missouri plus 3.5, they won. Nebraska, 9.5 they were getting. We didn't need it. Huskers won. They got Matt Rule, too. Interesting. We'll see how that goes. I did not get the over, though, on the Commonwealth Cup with Kentucky and Louisiana. Can't win them all. Corey went 1 for 2. He still has a 1-game lead on me as we go into championship week. Ohio State, North Carolina did not come through for him, but he was really confident on that Cal pick. You're going to give the Golden Bears 10? You're going to give the Golden Bears 10. Easy money. Corey and I will return for a last round of picks later on this week. Don't know if it'll be Winter Wednesday or not. But in the meantime, check out MyBookie for all your sports betting needs. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, and use that promo code WARCHANT over at mybookie.ag. Actually, real quick here, Corey, before we do pivot to some sort of bigger picture thoughts, I guess maybe it would have entered the bigger picture thoughts, but shout out Ryan Fitzgerald.
Okay. It's a big kick he made, man. That's a big kick to give them the lead in that moment. That's a big kick he made especially after shanking the easier one in the first half.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to have to go. I mean, they probably should go recruit another kicker. But I like the way Mike was coaching a game like it was 2006. He's like, all right, we're gonna kick the field goal. Did we punt the ball at all? Twice.
Yeah, a couple.
Twice.
A couple times.
Right.
Yeah,
we sent out the punt unit. It was crazy. It was great. It's good to see that sort of stuff.
It's cool to ask those kind of questions, right? Like, wait, did we ever punt?
All right.
It's cool to have to be able. And again, I think we'll go. I do want to stay micro for a second. Speaking of the kickers, but it is remarkable. I just want to say real quick how remarkable it is what this offense has become. Because as I said many times before the season started, like that's all I wanted to see is the improvement in the offense. I thought the defense would be about like this, solid, to okay against good teams, and it kind of was. It had some warts, but it also had some great moments too. But looking at that offense and just it took like I think it averaged 9 points a game more than it did last season and like 90 yards. I mean that's an enormous leap. So that's cool to see. But keeping micro real quick. How about So you're going to have to help me with his name, Aslan. God love him. But Fitzgerald could only kick the field goals because he was hurt. He was limping after every kick.
Yes.
So he toughed it out, which was great to see. Yeah. Who was our backup that was kicking the touchbacks at the end of the game?
Max Chiumento.
So I told y'all about that kid.
He did.
I couldn't remember his name. I'm sorry, Mac. You're the man. But man, in practice, he booms the bejesus out of the ball. And I'm like, that's a pretty good kickoff specialist now because he's the backup punter, right?
Correct.
But he's got a great leg, as you saw. So the first kick, he went out there, and, man, it might have gone to the 12. And you saw what that kid was doing. I mean, that's Etienne back there, man. He's a weapon. And I think the last 3 kicks that Mac had were touchbacks, including a couple that were 6, 7, 8 yards deep. In that moment, that kid had never kicked anywhere close to an environment like that. And I know you can say, oh, yeah, it's a kickoff, big deal. It is a huge deal. You can lose games if you kick a laser right down the middle of the field. Or, like Florida did when it was 38-38, kick it out of bounds. My man kicked touchbacks, and that's cool. Again, rising up. You know, he doesn't have a lot of duties on this team. That was cool for him in his moment to get some touchbacks. It's little things like that can win these close games or lose them if you're Florida.
Max Chiumento, stand up, Seabreeze. You might have thought that was the Zaxby Indescribably Good Player of the Week, but not yet.
Not quite.
Not quite. All right, so state champs, Corey, first time since 2016.
Yeah.
5-game win streak, longest since 2016. Miami absolutely in shambles. Florida maybe a little bit more of a game opponent than you thought they were. But this offense meeting the challenge, you know, I say challenge almost kind of sarcastically because who are we to put forth, challenges to Mike Norvell in the offense. But, you know, you talked about the amount of points they scored last year to this season. I mean, they last year scoring offense 74th in the country, 27.6 points per game. They are 18th right now, 36.2. I mean, almost an entire more than a touchdown. Almost a touchdown and an extra point better, which you tell most teams, hey, you're going to score an extra touchdown, you would see this kind of result. It's just the way they've made it look so effortless at times. The way they've also, when it's been Louisville, and you're down to your backup quarterback, and you're able to make big plays. You see a guy like Johnny Wilson step up. You see him step up the way he did in that last drive against Florida. Man, no matter where you want to bring the game, if you're an opposing defense, if you want to muck it up, if you want to really have to make Florida State roll up their sleeves, man, they can play physical. If you're going to be, a little tentative, they will jump down your throat. And Jordan Travis is obviously the trigger man behind all this, Corey. We think he's going to come back. He didn't really answer the question. Shout out to him. Good job. He's got the PR part of being a professional down pat. There's no, I don't want to say there's no moving back, there's no looking back, but it feels like something catastrophic would have to happen for this offense to take a step back and not be a top 20 offense moving forward. Because I know a lot of it is Jordan, man. I'm not taking anything away from Jordan. But, man, this offensive line has come such a far way. They've identified good guys in the portal, and they went in and got them, and they've integrated them in the offense. And Johnny and Micah weren't exactly, Jamison Williams or a Jordan Addison, and there's sort of, bidding wars going on for them. Now that you've put this together and you stack another one and it's 10 wins and you start recruiting at an even a higher level, I mean, I don't know. Are you going to be 2013 FSU all the time? Is the vacuum now being formed by Clemson? We can be a Clemson. We can take over this conference. I'm rambling too much, Corey. This offense it seems like, man, they've got it figured out. And with this guy, Mike Norvell and Jordan Travis, even if Jordan leaves, it's always going to be humming along, man. This is what they'll be. This is what they'll do. 475 yards, total offense, 14th best in the country. Again, 36.2 points, 18th best in the country.
Yeah, I think that's the next thing we'll know about this program and this offense is how much is it because of Jordan Travis and how much of it is because it's the offense and it runs itself. I don't think it's there yet. I think they don't win that game if
you're right.
There's another quarterback that's playing in that game. Look, and that's the thing. I thought, there were times where I felt like the offensive line was getting pushed around. That it didn't dominate. It didn't kind of dictate terms like it has the last 4 weeks. And again, you can say, yeah, they were playing bad. The Florida's defense gets pushed around by everyone. They didn't get pushed around. They didn't get pushed around much by the Florida State offensive line in terms of running plays. but you hit enough big plays, and you've got a quarterback they couldn't tackle.
Yeah.
And so even when you think, man, I don't feel like Florida State's offense is humming like it should. They ran for what, 240, or whatever it was, 230, threw for 270, and Johnny Wilson drops a touchdown pass. Cam McDonald drops a first down that would have probably led to another touchdown. That's 10 points right there, 11 points you didn't get. So you probably could have had 56 points in that game. That's what's so remarkable to me about this offense is that like you said, they make it look so effortless where you're like lamenting, man, come on, Johnny, catch a ball. Or Kentron, that you could have made that catch. Or Cam, that's a big drop right there. We're leaving all these points on the ball. Oh, yeah, we got 45 anyway.
Yeah, it feels like a punishable offense. It's like, hey, man, not every team scores on every possession. And when they don't score on a possession, you almost feel cheated.
It feels weird. It feels like they just made a mistake. Even when they're not mauling the defensive line in front of them. Like, that 21's a big dude. Tough to get him out of the way. They had some players. And Benson had some really nice runs. He also had a lot of 0 and 1 yard runs. But he had enough big ones, especially late, that you had 230 yards rushing, and then you had Jordan Travis. So I think whenever it is, hopefully it's not till 2024, when we see what this offense is like without Jordan Travis, I'll be very, very confident, because it'll be like the same thing with Tennessee, right? Like, I think we probably all assume Tennessee's offense is going to be very good next year without Hendon Hooker.
Well,
but we don't know for sure. We got to see it.
They walloped Vanderbilt with the backup. I know it's Vanderbilt, but hey, Vanderbilt, beat Kentucky, beat Florida, and then they looked like Vanderbilt again against Tennessee.
Well, they did. Wasn't that something? Yeah. But overall with this offense, it's been just an incredible rise. As Kenny Dillingham famously said, it's like bamboo growing. And it's going to the sun right now. It's been a crazy growth. I mean, this bamboo is out of control. It's all over the place. It's like Nam in '68. Nothing, but I mean, it's everywhere, Aslan. So that's been really, really cool to see because I didn't think that was coming. I thought they'd have a good offense, pretty good offense. I know those numbers say they're 14th or 18th. I bet if you look in Power 5, they're probably top 10. And then if you look on PFF, they have like the 5th best offense efficiency-wise in the country. They've just been incredible. I think they've had 2 3-and-outs in the last 4 games. I mean, come on, man. That's nuts. So good to see. Good to see. Fun season, everyone. Fun season, gang.
I was trying to get it to the power. For some reason, I can never,
if you just go to the results and look down, and then you can just count who's not a Power 5 team.
8th. Because they're tied for 9th, and it's only Air Force is the only non-power, and BYU.
Okay, there you go.
So they're tied with UCLA. Minnesota, Ohio State, Georgia, Southern Cal, Washington, Oregon State. Shout out Beavers with the Civil War. So, I'm talking about, they're going to be all right to see the man if Jordan leaves, and then you quickly, are like, well, let's relax there, which I think you made a very valid point. Does it make it all that much more crucial? Not only for 2023, obviously. You'll be the best you can possibly be if he comes back. But to also give you that gap year almost, to do another cycle of really good recruiting, portal, and also prep to bring him back so that when he does leave, because he'll have to leave eventually, everybody, then you certainly will have enough talent and will be positioned good enough that if you have a above-average quarterback and maybe not an exceptional quarterback, you can win at a good rate in this conference.
Absolutely. I think that's where you're going. I think you see what this offense looks like when it's clicking on all cylinders. And you brought up a really good point a few minutes ago about now let's see what the portal offers. I wrote a column that's on the website by the time people are listening to this about Jared Verse was from Albany. Now he was the biggest name recruit they got. But Johnny Wilson, I think Oregon State was the only other team that reached out before Florida State. Micah Pittman hadn't done a whole lot. It's not like they got all these ready-made. Trey Benson had 6 carries, and I guarantee you nobody at Oregon was heartbroken that dude left. Nobody. And then look at him now. That's what's so encouraging and kind of exciting about the future is, okay, now that they've shown what they can do with just an upgrade, not to NFL first or second round talent, but just to competent college football players. What are they going to look like when they get that special, exceptional talent, which could very well be coming here soon? Like if you were a playmaker, wouldn't you want to go be in an offense built for playmakers, Aslan?
And with that quarterback, man, it's
but think about like when you're at another school right now, and we've all heard it. It's an offense built for playmakers. He's been saying it since 2019 when he took the job, but December of 2019. It's proven now. Look at this, man. I think I don't know, would you have 12, 14 guys that scored touchdowns? You probably had 15 guys that had at least a 20-yard play. Malik McClain has a huge play. Trey Benson, Ward, Toa Feely, Cam McDonald, like on and on. It is, if you're a guy that can beat one-on-one coverage, this is a really fun offense to play in. In that pond, that lake is going to be so much bigger now to fish out of that they could get Jordan Addison types. Maybe not a Biletnikoff Award winner, but maybe a Biletnikoff Award finalist. Yeah. That's where they are now, man. So that's what I think is cool, is thinking about what kind of talent they're going to attract now that they had this kind of season.
Yeah, again, it hasn't worked out for Alabama, but Jermaine Burton left the reigning national champs, to go to Tuscaloosa to catch passes from that guy, from Bryce Young. Bryce Young, a little bit different machine than Jordan. You're going to get probably a lot more passes thrown your way, but still, I mean, this offense, they'll find ways to get you the ball. The whole, built for playmaker thing. So I am curious, because we went into the season, again, like conventional wisdom was, these recruits, at least high school kids, need to see, proof of concept or whatever. They need to see in actual action on Saturdays, Fridays as well here, clearly, Sundays too, this team go out and perform and play well, and they have. But there's been a little bit of a lag, at least when it comes to getting high school kids to jump on, because so many of them had already kind of made up their mind going into the season. I just wonder if they can maybe close out stronger these next 2 weeks. But I think for the portal, absolutely, man. And maybe, again, I think we thought the portal was a Band-Aid, a temporary fix until eventually you can training wheels and then you take them off and then you're just getting 5-stars back in here left and right. I don't know, man. I think you're always going to be looking to get guys in here that are already ready to go, that you think fit in family and check all those boxes. And now you're going to be, again, fishing and probably in a little bit of a different pond, man. Even if they don't bring in the Biletnikoff, semi-finalists, again, they've shown what they can do by bringing in the right pieces. They've evaluated and brought in the right guys. And that's another key thing, too. Obviously, we can talk about now they have maybe a better product to sell. Cool, for sure. But I think they've demonstrated to us enough that they can evaluate talent. And that's something that you usually don't lose. Jimbo lost it for some reason. It's usually a skill that you don't lose. It doesn't deteriorate unless the sport radically changes, which, I don't know how much more evolution there is left in the offensive game for football, but they're well-positioned now. And I really am kind of interested to see what's going to happen come, December 5th, Corey? It opens up?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be – I just think Florida State fans should be really excited now. It's not fun to think about, okay, you're probably losing Jamie, you're probably losing Fabian, you're probably losing Jared. That the defense has to be remade. If the offense comes back intact, maybe you get a special player here and there. Also, remember, you're getting Winston Wright. Yeah. You're getting the guy that was the most highly sought-after, most accomplished offensive transfer you had. Yep. That didn't even play a snap. So it's like getting another guy in the portal there with him. But you've got to reload the defense. And I think you'll have a very good chance to do just that. I think Florida, if people were watching that game on Friday night, and a lot of people were, that atmosphere, that team, the way they fight, the way they sort of kind of cheer, just the way they are around each other, I don't know how you wouldn't want to be a part of that. So they will need to reload on defense. And maybe sprinkle in a player here or there if the right pieces come back, right? Like, I'm saying this all assuming Trey Benson comes back and Johnny Wilson comes back and everybody else comes back.
Man, it's just Jordan. I don't want to diminish what Trey's done. They'll be all right. I think they'll be all right at running back if he leaves. It'll be, they'll take a step back maybe, but
I mean, I don't even know. Maybe they would take a step back and one individual most talented player.
Depth kind of thing, yeah.
But even still, man, is the running game going to take a step back?
Right.
I am all aboard. I am all in that this offensive staff, you are going to average 215 yards a game rushing, no matter who is back there. Rodney Hill might run for 850 yards next year. That would not stun me at all. Ward might come back and run for 800. It's just this is what I think this offense is. Even last year when they were struggling, they had 4 straight games of 200 yards rushing, and now this year they have 7 against some pretty solid defenses.
And they knew it, and Florida knew what was coming. You can maybe argue the teams beforehand. Maybe Louisiana wasn't equipped for it, but Syracuse was probably equipped for it. Miami kind of knew what was coming. Florida knew what was coming. It doesn't matter.
None of it. It doesn't matter. The only team that really kind of stopped Florida State from doing what it wanted to do, running the ball, was LSU to a certain extent early, and then Wake Forest. And that was just because it was a weird, goofy game, and you kept giving up points, and I think Norvell kind of maybe panicked a little bit about trying to get some points back right away. Jordan had the turnover, and you got so far down you felt like you had to throw a lot. But other than that, you ran on anybody. You ran at will against everyone. And again, this needs to be stressed. With not a supremely talented offensive line. It's a good offensive line, and it's extremely well coached, and those guys try really hard. Maybe 1 or 2 of them will make an NFL roster, maybe. But now imagine getting maybe these guys that are behind them are NFL talents. They are 2nd or 3rd round picks in the league. And you've got 3 or 4 NFL linemen running this offense in front of these playmakers. Man, and I'm talking about 2, 3, 4 years from now. That's what gets you really excited that, okay, this offense is built for the long term. And that's why I think this program is probably built for the long term. Nothing about this season seemed fluky. Nothing. You just beat teams. And you dominated a lot of them. And that just nothing about it seemed fluky.
The clutch shot, the biggest hits. It's time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good
Player of the Week.
You heard the man. Time for the Zaxby's Indescribably Good Player of the Week. I'm going to start with Jarian Jones. That's my pick, Corey. Shout out to Mississippi, McGee, Mississippi stand-up. Also just an absolute all-time post-game press conference from Jarian. Check it out. But he graded out at 80, the number 1 highest grade of any defensive player, starter, or whomever in that game. An absolutely incredible interception. Just fantastic hands. Pass breakup later on in the game. According to PFF, no passes completed towards him. And our guy, again, he said, I've been reading what y'all said on Twitter. I don't know if he's talking about you folks listening to this or the people that write and put stuff on Twitter. But he saw it. He delivered. So I'm going to give it to Jarian, man. What a good performance out of him. I put him really high in my preseason top 40. Probably did not live up to those expectations still. But what a time to have probably your best game in your collegiate career against the Gators. Shout out Jarian Jones.
Yeah, he was aggressive in that press conference.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, did I write? I didn't write anything about him. I don't remember having even an opinion about him. I hope he plays well.
I've been wrong about a lot of stuff, Jarian, but I never said anything bad about you, so I hope you weren't looking at me, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you know he's an avid listener to this show.
Yeah.
It wasn't us, Jarian. It was not us. We've always been on your side, buddy. I'm going to be predictable. But when you win that game and score 45 points and your quarterback does what he does, I have to go with Jordan Travis. Some of that stuff literally was indescribable that he was doing. And remember, he was 13 of 30 with, at least 5 drops, maybe 6, including a touchdown and probably 60 or 70 yards worth of drops on top of the 85 yards rushing he had. And 2 or 3 kind of scores. I don't know what was going on there with those reviews. But those were, again, he just got him out of so many bad plays because he's a freak athlete. And it was cool to be reminded of that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he can really run. He's as good as just about anybody else running the ball in the country. He just doesn't have to do it as much anymore because he's so good at everything else. He can beat you with his arm and his mind now and not just with his athleticism. But when he needs to beat you with his athleticism, oh, yeah, you can call him that too.
That's right. Jarian Jones, Jordan Travis, our Zaxby's Indescribably Good Players of the Week. Let's go a little no huddle here. Let's also shout out some other great athletes for Florida State. Tania Latson, who you've been pumping up here on the program recently, Corey. The women's basketball team's off to quite a good start this season. And Tenaya was the Cancun Challenge Mayan MVP. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
88-57 win to close things out there against Harvard. So,
she's one that could play at South Carolina. She's one that could play at UConn. She's probably the most talented player they've ever had in the program.
Good day, good week to be Michael Alford. Your soccer hires doing good enough. They're back to the College Cup. Florida State wins 1-0 against Arkansas. So that means they're now in the College Cup, which is, the last 4 teams, Corey, if I'm not mistaken?
There you go, Aslan. You know your stuff. Yeah, it's the Final Four of soccer. They call it the College Cup.
Yeah, and then obviously the state championship the guys got with the football team, so that was good.
Basketball team, we don't even need to talk about it.
Yeah, not right now. They'll bounce back, and if they don't, I don't know. We'll get maybe in February. We'll talk about where you got to go from here, but we're not there yet. Right. We got bowls and stuff to worry about. All right, I know. Listen, I think it's a silent majority. I'm going to go Richard Nixon on this. I think it's a silent majority on this. So I'm not even going to say it's unpopular, but it can still be unpopular. But it could still be the majority's belief here, right, Corey? Something can be unpopular, but the majority of people can be behind it, right?
Okay.
Technically,
I mean, I don't know if that's exactly how those words work definition-wise, but
the president, whatever president wins, he could be unpopular, but he still won. You know,
okay, I got you.
He got the more votes or whatever.
Yeah, but he only got like 46% of the vote.
Right.
He didn't get 55.
Right.
Okay, all right, I got you.
There wasn't a plurality.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what we're doing there, guys. I don't like us running on the field. I saw Texas Tech run on the field.
Okay.
And I'm like, we look like them. We look like Lubbockites. We look like Lubbockers running on the field. They only had 6 wins, everybody. You can be happy. You can show joy in all sorts of great ways. We don't storm the field here. We don't do it. We only did it one other time, and it was, maybe not one other time. The last time we did it was beating an undefeated Florida team and punching your ticket to a national title game. So let's be a little bit more judicious in the use of that. My phone, everybody's super excited, but then it was all like, LOL, can't believe we stormed the field. SMH, what are we doing? So I think it's a 51-49 split. I'm sure there's people like Aslan, stop shaking your fist at the sky, yelling at clouds. I didn't like that. Everything else is great, though.
I'll
retort. Want to retort?
No, I'm not at all. I don't disagree with you. I'm gonna. It's the sentiment that I had at the. We also did a keg stand. We had your favorite media company, folks, had people out there doing funnels in a keg stand. After beating a 6-6 Florida team. So understand that. The standards have been lowered a little bit around here. Now, again, it wasn't because they beat Florida that we did a keg stand. Understand it was we said if they won the last 5 to finish 9-3, that would be worthy of a great celebration considering the darkness that this program has been in. So that was why we did it. That said, as I said on that show outside at Corner Pocket on the patio, it was a pretty good setup, Aslan.
Yeah,
we might need to do that next year, just out on the patio. It was really neat.
I'm all about outdoors, buddy. Al fresco.
This is the last time we do something like this for a 9-win season.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think the floor has been raised to where this is now expected. We don't do keg stands.
We don't do hour
funnels,
number 2s. None of that.
Toast champagnes. Hour number 2s. Storm the field, unless it's getting you into the playoff. Or a spot in the ACC championship game or something worth storming the field for. Or, like, say you won on like Georgia Southern, if you saw the end of their game when they threw a crazy pass in overtime to win on a last play. I can understand the excitement bubbling over and you go storm the field. But I also, it's like, it's 19-year-olds jumping onto the field. And then other 19-year-olds 6 rows behind them going, man, that looks kind of fun. They're not stopping them. I'll go on the field. That looks neat. And then that's how it starts. So it's not like...
It was organic. It wasn't premeditated.
Well, not only that, but it's like it wasn't so much, oh, my gosh, we beat Florida. What a huge win for this night, this Friday night. It was a celebration of the season, and it was also 19-year-olds wanting to have fun and be goofy on the football field. Next time, maybe the cops can not let them on the field.
All right.
Maybe we could have like some shoving matches back and forth. That would be fun, right? But yeah, so I think that's more of what it was, man, right? Like just kids. It probably was 17 kids that jumped on the field, and once the 9,000 behind them saw it, they're like, I'm going to go do that. I had kids in my biochem class. I'm going down there too. Stuff like that. I think that's how it happened. It wasn't. I don't think it's embarrassing. I just think it was goofy, and it needs to be the last time it happens, unless, like you said, you're beating Florida because you punched a ticket to the playoff. Which, by the way, if the 12-team playoff was in effect this year, buddy, we'd be watching those conference championship games with some
bated breath,
with a magnifying glass, man.
Yeah, they're up to 14th, I think, in these latest polls. At least the coaches.
Yeah, and I think that's where they'd be in the college football poll too, maybe 13th.
Yeah. But then
think about
obviously
that, folks. That's what I'm trying to say about why this 12-team playoff will be so much fun. You had a 3-game losing streak in the middle of your season, and you still played so well late that if there was a 12-team playoff, you might have played your way into an actual postseason playoff opportunity. That's cool, man. That's cool for this sport. Yeah. So let's hope they get it done sooner rather than later.
Well, yes,
and also Dabo lost, which was great.
Yeah, because the unfortunate thing is I don't know how many times a 12 seed. I don't know how they're going to do it if you get to buy the first 4 teams and then everybody else matches up or whatever. But no one looks unbeatable. There is no juggernaut. There is no 2019 Joe Burrow. There's no 2013 Jameis Winston, 2020 Alabama. Man, everybody looks beatable, and it'd be really cool. I think even Desmond Howard or maybe Kirk Herbstreit said going into game day on Saturday after seeing Florida win, they're like, man, this is a team you would not want to play right now. And I don't know how often this sort of thing would line up. It's unfortunate that's not, but we can obviously enjoy just how far we have come. Yeah, and Clemson loses. DJ Uiagalelei, there's no way he's a starting quarterback for them next year. I mean, I don't even know what loyalty is going to get you there, Dabo. Cool, I guess. He'll always like you.
That was not great. And that's why, again, when people gave me a little bit of grief because I was so hard on the defense after the Clemson game, that's what bothered me is I knew that kid had a game like that in him. I knew he wasn't as good as he was playing. I knew if you played solid to good defense,
we didn't expose him
in the moment.
He was
not exposed. You're right.
He was ripe to be exposed. We did not. Florida State was not the team to do it, which is a bummer. Willie Taggart let go down at FAU. That probably brings to the end of his head coaching career here, which is crazy to think about just how high he had descended and how quickly it's kind of all come undone for him. Lane Kiffin's going to stay in Ole Miss, apparently. Mm-hmm. Auburn might go after Hugh Freeze, but there's a pushback. Who knows what's going on there? Kenny goes to Arizona State. And I wonder how many of those jobs, at least, maybe Auburn and Arizona State, when you want to talk about going to the transfer portal and finding guys that might get lost in the wash here. I wish there was maybe another good job or two out there that was open because then you could maybe sneak in and pull guys away. But Nebraska gets Matt Rule. Maybe that'll finally get them back on the right track. Yeah. As Georgia Tech hasn't made any decision. I don't know.
No, the rumors are Tulane. They're going to go after the Tulane head coach.
Oh, because he was at Georgia Southern for a minute, old Willie Fritz.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, shoot, if they go after – was Alex at Tulane for a minute before he went to Charlotte?
He was, yeah. He used to be at Tulane.
And listen, you talked about it, and you were right. When that job came open, I think Florida State was 5-3 or 6-3 at that point. And you're like, who's going to want to come after an offensive coordinator that's not calling plays and they're 45th in the country or whatever they were at that point? I wonder if he looks more, marketable or more of a practical sort of hire if something like that opens in the group of 5 level. But we think, you stick around here, you see what happened to Kenny, just maybe be patient, and then you can get a nice Power 5 job if you hang around here long enough. And by long enough, another year or two.
Yeah, if I'm Alex Atkins, yes, especially if Jordan Travis comes back. Look, so much hinges on that. I just think every feeling going into the – and look, you would be fine-ish if he left because you feel like you'd get somebody in the portal. I don't know that you want to go into next season with Rodemaker, Brock Glenn, and A.J. Duffy. That's a lot of unproven. There's going to be a quarterback out there that would die to play in this system. But if he comes back – you're guaranteed, in my opinion, of having one of the best offenses in the United States. So ride that out for another year, and then you don't have to go to Tulane to get your first head coaching job. You can get a head coaching job at a Power 5 school, in my opinion. You know what I mean? They might come after Alex Atkins. I don't know. So the guy that just won big at Tulane is now going to Georgia Tech. I feel like Alex Atkins could skip a step and just go from Florida State to Georgia Tech. Yeah, Georgia, a similar school, a similar program to Georgia Tech, if he stayed at Florida State for another year. But that might just be me wishful thinking because I like the guy. He's doing a great job. He's fun to talk to.
If you're Dion, would you go to USF or FAU?
No. I think no. I mean,
I just don't know if winning at the FCS level will get you a Power 5 job. That feels a little bit unprecedented, like a good Power 5 job. Because I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
think,
you might be right.
I don't know where he would go in the Northeast. Like, I don't think the Big Ten footprint is gonna go after him. I don't know how many programs in the Southeast, like major heavy hitters, would go after him. If Georgia Tech's going to pass on him, that seemed like that might have been a good one for him. Even the Big 12 footprint, I don't know how much of his time with his prime prep academy in Texas kind of maybe soured coaches, and that would affect his ability to get hired, in the states that border Texas as well. Apparently, like, my brother keeps telling me that John Gruden wants a USF job. I think I'd rather have Prime than John Gruden.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
That's
Well,
just me.
good for him. Get him back in the spotlight after a pretty gross end to his. Where was he coaching? Was he the Raiders coach when all that nonsense came out?
Or do you go to
nonsense is in the stuff he did was nonsense, not that it was nonsense that he was fired.
Or do you go to FAU and you end up winning Conference USA, and then you can get a Power 5? I mean, that's what Lane did. Lane went FAU to Ole Miss, went to the SEC. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you could. I just feel like that's going to be another. I think Dion would rather go from Jackson State to the
Colorado.
Big time,
Colorado.
Take another
Would you go?
step.
I'd go to Colorado. There's a report out there that Colorado reached out to him. I'd go to Colorado. If I was him.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he'd get players there, and maybe they'd be good. And it's the Pac-12. It's not impossible to win out there. But hey, this isn't wake up Dion.
No.
You know what I mean? We don't just sit there and talk about Dion for the last 5 minutes of the show. Let's talk about how fun
basketball
this
team?
season
basketball
was.
team?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No chance. We're talking about that team.
Where are you at bowl-wise? You still all in on Jacksonville?
That's where I want to be. That's where I want to be. But I just, again, it dawned on me while we were sitting there being idiots at Corner Pocket on Saturday. And we had so many people there. And then also, we all meet, we meet people just walking into the stadium. So many people. I met, at Indigo, I'm so bad at names.
Oh, well,
Mike.
Speaking of which.
Mike.
Okay,
Mike from
Mike.
Ocala, I think, who had a Florida friend with him. He was very nice. I took a picture with him. Very, very nice guy. Overly too nice. Wes from the Villages was there. James B, obviously. Shane and Michelle. Eric Angel's doing keg stands. And then Vishal was also at the
Vishal. My man.
Yeah, he shows up, man. He's a
does.
pillar.
Yeah.
And he was at the he was at Indigo, I think, but he definitely was at CP for the keg. And it's like, man, it just dawned on me how this whole fan base needed a season like this. Yeah, it's not 1993. I get it. They're not the best program in the country. And yeah, it's goofy that you stormed the field for Florida, but man, doesn't it feel good to feel good again? Yeah. Doesn't it feel good to wake up on a Saturday morning and just watch other teams lose or win and know that you have a 9-win team that's going to a pretty good bowl and you feel really good about the future? Like, it's just been so long. We were in the wilderness, in the dark, in the depths of the ocean for so long, and now we've risen up. And that's what I think is just really that dawned on me that so many people would come watch us be idiots and drink beer out of a keg and drink champagne. We toasted the season. I bought champagne because I'm a nice guy. Actually, I should say Stephanie bought the champagne. I haven't paid her back for it yet. All right, but that to me is what dawned on me, and that's a really cool thing. That's why that win was so important. Finish it off, win the state championship, 9 wins. That was an awesome night to cap a really fun season.
Shout out to Grant and Justin, who I think I saw outside the stadium before the game when I was trying to find my buddy Mike. And then after the game, bumped into Scott and Denise driving out. They were very excited. Okay. Shout out to them. And then when I was actually waiting with my buddy Mike to grab brunch on Saturday, I think the name, he said April, and I asked my buddy Mike, I'm like, what did he say his name was? He said April. He said he loved the show. That was cool because I was hanging out front like a place, and my buddy sees that, he's not the only person that likes me. There's other people out there. So shout out to April. Probably got your name wrong, though. Sorry about that. Last thing, not Florida State related, because that's what we do on Mondays for the last 5 minutes. 3-loss LSU beats Georgia. Does that keep the SEC out of the playoff, or do you still put Georgia in ahead of Ohio State?
No, Georgia. So I think Georgia and Michigan are in, and TCU are all in no matter what happens. I think it depends on if USC wins, beats Utah, they're in. If they don't, Ohio State's in.
Okay.
You can't make an argument for any other scenario. What's Alabama's best win? I legitimately don't know what it is. Ohio
Ole
State
Miss at the time, but Ole Miss obviously isn't all
at
that
the
great.
time that doesn't matter. But we don't play that game, do we? So they don't have a good win. You can't put them as a 2-loss team. Georgia would lose to LSU. All right, well, there's still one loss. So yeah, I would think that, and I think Michigan should be ahead of Georgia. I think Michigan's been the most impressive team all year. I think that was easily the best win of the season by anyone. And so I would put Michigan at 1, and then Georgia 2.
I just want to
whoever else, TCU, USC, Ohio State.
If it's Michigan, Georgia, TCU, Southern Cal, I want to see Georgia, Southern Cal. I think like they need to seed
two best quarterbacks in the country dueling it out.
Pretty much, they need to seed it to where I get it. TCU is going to be clean. So, but like don't reward Michigan and then give them Southern Cal. Like put Southern Cal ahead of TCU so Georgia gets them. Sorry,
right.
that's
okay.
That's
right.
just
okay. I got you.
That's how I believe.
The real question, Aslan, and we'll talk about it this week. Maybe we'll take even suggestions from people.
Okay.
Is who do I vote for to win the Heisman?
I mean, thought Caleb pretty much made his case, but that's fine.
All right, well then fine. Let's have a vote for him. Great. Lincoln Riley, another Lincoln Riley quarterback won a Heisman. That's weird. Can we just give him the Heisman and quit all the nonsense? Like just a permanent Heisman to Lincoln Riley. But then who's 2 and 3?
Max Duggan, I mean, the kid from TCU, I don't even know his stats, but, man, they've come back and won games. So
how much of a homer am I if I give Jordan Travis a vote?
How many slots do you get?
You get 3.
3?
You get 3. So I'm not – C.J. Stroud, I guess. Bryce Young's already won it. He's not going to win it again. Yeah. But, like, I saw somebody, I think it was Stuart Mandel, was like, okay, so-and-so loses, so-and-so loses. Is Stetson Bennett in the race now? And I'm like, are you effing nuts? I mean, that's crazy because he's on the best team in the country. You think that guy's a better player than Jordan Travis?
Well, that's the way it's been. You're right. You're totally right, Corey. You are absolutely right.
All right. 30 touchdowns total, 4 turnovers. Took a team that was 3-6 2 years ago. Now they're 9-3, and dominated some games. Like I bet if you ask Florida defenders, they'd say, yeah, he's probably one of the better players in the United States. I don't think it's too homerish to give my guy a vote. Plus, what if he sees that he finishes, I don't know, if he gets 1 vote, I think he'd get more than that, honestly. But say I'm the only person that votes for him, and he finishes whatever that would make him finish 16th in the Heisman voting. Does that give him a little juice to maybe, man, I don't want to be 16th, I want to be 1. People know me. People have taken notice. I need to come back and win the Heisman because I do think that's a real selling point with him. And I know it's been a long show, we got to go, but I think that's a real selling point with him. Is that game on Friday night, he did deliver. He is now a household name in this country. He's beaten 2 SEC teams. He probably get a chance to beat a third this year. And I think you come back and you have a real chance at a Heisman candidacy. No. I do not to win it. Right. I mean, he could, but his name will be mentioned to start the season. He's going to be. He might win the ACC Player of the Year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I think if the coaches voted on that, I think he probably would win. I don't think the Pitt running back would win. I think his name probably echoes around enough in ACC circles because even when even the teams that aren't playing Florida State, but they're watching their opponent play Florida State, like, wow, man, glad we don't have to play that quarterback. You know? Yeah,
and I think even with the media voting for it, I think it's going to be really close, man. I think quarterback is a bigger deal. I think Drake May poop in the bed the last 2 weeks like he did. Open the door for Jordan Travis, and I think Jordan Travis finishing with a 5-game winning streak, even in their losses, playing pretty well, and then dominating a game on national television against a rival. I think that might give him a chance to be the ACC Player of the Year, and that's really cool, man. To come from where he came from to be the ACC Player of the Year, I wouldn't be stunned. I'd say it's probably either him or the Pitt running back. By the way, great effort, Miami. It's fun to watch.
Last 5 winners of the ACC Player of the Year award. Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson twice, Travis Etienne, twice, Trevor Lawrence, Kenny Pickett. So,
Jordan Travis.
That's what we do in this conference.
I like it.
That's what we do in this conference, man.
Yep.
Just develop some good dudes. All right, I don't know how many more shows we're going to do this week because they're not practicing. I think they get the week off.
Right.
We won't know the bowl game until Saturday, maybe. Sunday will be official, but Saturday night we probably we'll have an idea. So at least, by the time we talk next Monday, we'll know. But we'll do at least a show or 2 in the interim. Maybe not 5
I think there
week.
will be some come on, guys. Give us a break. But also I think there will be some news this week. So stay tuned to Warchant. Get on Warchant because there will be breaking news, whether it's transfers committing. The transfer portal starts next week. But also guys from this team will declare that they're leaving or staying. maybe coaching changes or hires or whatever. Like there's going to be some news. This is the news breaking.
It's a hot
stretch
stove
for college football.
Yeah, quick. It's
It's the hot stove,
microwave.
Exactly right.
The hot microwave because it's a shorter, smaller time window. Sam McCall minus 300. The field plus 150. I'm just joking. We won't do that.
Okay. All right. Okay, great.
That's a wrap for
Is
us.
that on
here.
my bookie?
You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere over there. Not sure the first player on Florida State Seminary or the portal would be on there. But stay connected to warchant.com. Plenty of content up on the website, including Irish OFL's 321, Corey's column, as he mentioned. Jeff Cameron show, 1 to 3 o'clock. Pretty sure there's probably going to be a montage. So you're not going to want to miss it. 93.3 FM, 1 to 3 o'clock. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.